Here we are once again. Hello, friends. So, I'm back again with more questions. And actually, the questions that we're having today, right, are literally household favorites. Me and my roommate go back and forth regarding these questions. And it's kind of funny because it's like Black History Month just ended and it's Women's Month. Like, I typically only talk about social issues on this channel, um, or societal issues on this channel, and this is relevant. So, I have three more questions for you today that have been roaming my household, right? So, the first one, and maybe it'll give you a clue as to where we're going with this. The first one is, are we no longer interested in traditional vocalists? And when I say we, I mean the general population, but I also mean us Black people. Are we no longer interested in vocalists, traditional vocalists, those that can sing a ballad really well, like the Celine Dion's, the Whitney Houston's, right? Who really can hold the note. Are we no longer interested in them? And this is a question for those of you who grew up in older generation, but also those of you who are people of color, and people who aren't of color obviously can answer as well. But have you seen that shift, right? Secondly, my question is, should all Black vocalists be gospel ready, right? And when I say that, I mean, should they be able to sing the soul out of you? Thirdly, my question is, why do we reward different over practiced? And when I say practice, I mean people who put, like, what do they say? What's that number that they always give us in these books? 1,000 hours of practice on our vocals, whether it's trained, whether it's just experience, whether it's singing in the church. And I know that's a common one because we love to talk about, oh, she grew up in the church. She can sing. She grew up in the church. So why do we reward those who just sound different or look different rather than those who have the sound and the capabilities? And when I'm saying this, I think about how many stars do you know that came off The Voice? Let that one linger, right? Because that show is all about the vocals and whatever. Let that one linger. So back to the first question, which is, are we no longer interested in traditional vocalists? We have this conversation frequently in our house, mainly discussing Beyonce, right? I know the girls love Taylor Swift, and it's usually sorry, that one stresses me out a little bit. It's usually it's usually a comparison due to stardom, right? And I think a lot of the youth, that's the word I'm gonna use, the youth, feel as though they can compare Taylor to Beyonce because of stardom. But I believe, as someone who grew up with Taylor from the beginning, right? I'm about 30. Taylor's a bit older. I was around when Taylor was singing at smaller places around Pennsylvania, because she's from right outside of Philadelphia. Okay, go Birds. Go Birds. As someone who was a Swiftie really early on, as someone who listened to Beyonce since childhood with Destiny's Child, and seen her transition, seen her in movie roles, I I can say that the comparison should stop at stardom. Is she a bigger star? Is she a bigger star? That's where it should probably end. Because anything further would just be lies, hypocrisy, and ignorance, in my opinion. Obviously, in my opinion. Because they are not the same type of vocalists, they are not the same type of performer. Now, let's scoot Beyonce out of this conversation and talk about regular traditional vocalists like the Jennifer Hudson, like the Adeles, like the I would throw in Snow Allegra. I would throw in, who else is a traditional vocalist out here? Let me see. Jasmine Sullivan. You know, people who could really give us a ballad. And my answer to, are we tired of traditional vocalists? I'd say no. And there's a TikTok video of a girl who says that, like, oh, you know, I'm a singer, and, you know, people always talking about, oh, you know, people who grew up in the church, like, she can sing, she grew up in the church, and you'll never get a ballad from me, and sometimes people are just looking for something new. And my response to that is, I don't know if people are looking for something particularly new, as in the music. I think they want something new to the face. The only reason I say that is because, and this leads into my second question, but no, people are not tired of traditional vocalists. I only say that because Adele is getting paid. Okay? Adele is getting paid. Yeba shows literally sell out in seconds. Another beautiful example of this is Ray. UK Ray, sold out. Another example of this is Cynthia Erivo. You know, she's breaking boundaries. She is singing at the Oscars. She's singing everywhere, literally hitting that one note everywhere. So people are not tired of traditional vocalists. I would even argue Ariana Grande is a traditional vocalist. Argue with your mom. Literally argue with your mom. So I think we need to get away from the idea that just because it's traditional, people aren't necessarily moved by it or going towards it. And this kind of leads me to my second question of, why is it, right, that we feel that all Black vocalists need to be gospel ready? And when I say this, I talk about categorization. That one was a little trippy. That's a big word for Elmo. And I think about how all these non-R&B Black artists are literally put in the R&B column. Obviously, there's the obvious genre bender. There's the obvious genre bender that is Beyonce, and she's always placed in the R&B category. It don't be, you know, she gotta fight to be placed into the country category, and it's a little bit tiring. But, you know, outside of Beyonce, again, push her out of here, all right? She's a special class. Yes, I agree. Sure. Someone else would be SZA. SZA is not a traditional vocalist, and please don't try to argue with me that she is, because baby girl has worked hard to get where she is. She sings a lot better, but she does not sing R&B. I think she's pretty much pop. Sometimes her songs have a rock undertone, but I think it's so hard because when you recognize a Black voice, we automatically want to say, oh, it's soulful, oh, it's R&B-ish. When the truth is, it's just a Black voice on some chords that are rock chords. And if it's a Black voice on rock chords, the genre is still rock. I think that we have come to associate black vocalists with R&B. Because, and this might be a little controversial, I'd say there are some vocalists out there who have more of an R&B sound than SZA. And you know who a big one is? I'll say it. Paramore. Yeah. Honestly, lead singer of Paramore sounds way more soulful than SZA. Hayley Williams. Sorry. She has a growl to her voice. She sings very soulfully, and I think she has more of a soulful R&B sound than a lot of the girlies that are put in R&B. But I just think that it's because she's on rock chords, we're able to recognize, oh, she's rock and she's hot. And I don't think a lot of us take time to make that distinction. And when I say a lot of us, I mean even black people. I think black people categorize sometimes a bit faster than white people, right? Even the idea that when you're black and you don't do R&B or hip hop, you're considered alternative, as if that is the normal line for us to fall into. And the truth is, that line was created by industry people. It's not a line that real life black people would exist in if we weren't consistently placed in that category. If the radio stations in your neighborhood only play hip hop and R&B, and the rock stations go in and out, you're going to listen to hip hop and R&B, and that will be what you listen to. Unless you have an outside force come in to showcase to you that there's something else out there. So I would say it's less of the norm and more so of the forced reality. Now, last question, which is, why do we reward different over practice? And you're probably wondering, what do you mean different and what do you mean practice? Don't worry, I'm gonna explain it to you. You feel me? I'm gonna explain it. When I say different, I mean not the typical black girly, you know, mono-ethnic. Why do we reward them over the mono-ethnic black girlies? But not just different in race, right? Hear me out. Also different in background. I think about who we propel in places to honor the people that came before us, especially in media. And hear me out, this is gonna take a dive, right? I think about who the faces of soul and R&B are right now, and I think about Adele, and I think about Yeba, and when I think about grand vocalists that we kind of are idolizing right now, that are in the media right now, I think about Cynthia Erivo. And don't get me wrong, she has a beautiful voice, and you're probably like, she's mono-ethnic. Yes, girl, but she's British. She's British, and she's made it very clear that she's British. And her background, her story is not the same of those here. Yet, she wants to play the role of significant members of Black American history. And we applaud and reward it, although they don't want to be recognized as part of that group. And we also recognize that they're not part of this group, yet we reward them consistently, making them the face of vocalists. Adele, Yeba, Snow Allegra, right? Let me tell you, R&B has become so light-skinned. Ray. Like, obviously being Brit is a category. Like, coming from somewhere else, not having the typical church story or the out of the gutter story. I guess people are tired of it. Maybe. I'm not sure. But also being biracial and really celebrating biracialness in R&B. It's a little scary. It's a little scary because I think about Fantasia and how none of us were running to buy her albums. Oh, and she made hits. When I See You is not her best song. Not even close. But some of us will never know better. Because we just choose not to celebrate them. And I'm talking about this because I'm recognizing patterns, right? I'm not talking about this to start a riot or nothing like that. I'm talking about this because I'm recognizing the patterns that are happening within music, within these so-called black spaces, because it's hard. I think about these black artists. It's hard when you're going to be placed into this genre, right? And then knowing that because you're mono-ethnic, they're not even going to uplift you when you're placed into this genre, right? It's a lose-lose because you're like, man, I don't even sing this genre, and I know that people don't even celebrate people like me when we're placed in this genre, so why am I being pushed here? You know, it's really a lose-lose. I would go further and say that we've been doing this for a while, because I think about how highly we praise Mariah, and the 90s had a lot of singers, and I'm talking about Miss Carey. I would never talk down on Miss Carey, and I know we talk about Brandy being the vocal Bible, but y'all don't understand the extent at which Brandy is the vocal Bible. And I think a lot of vocalists have to push Brandy upon us because people don't recognize the impact that she had. Because I'd say that she's more impactful than Mariah Carey. I know. Vocally. And talking about Mariah Carey, within the black community, it's us. Like, we're also a part of the problem. We'll call Jay Hudson a traditional vocalist, someone who has practiced well, who can hit the notes. A screamer. Because she has a strong diaphragm and she can hit those notes, and y'all call it yelling, but you guys don't understand how chords work, and she doesn't necessarily yell. I'm so sorry. You just can never hit those chords with that amount of intensity. And you know who else can't? Cynthia Erivo. But we don't call her anything else. I would say that her voice doesn't have similar depth as Jay Hudson. We don't call Mariah Carey a squealer because she's always hitting these super high notes. We don't call Adele a crier because she always sounds like she's kind of going into a moan or a cry in all her songs. Yet with our artists, it's so easy for us. And when I say artists, I mean like mono-ethnic artists. It's so easy for us to label them a term that not only has a negative connotation, but also acts as if their talent doesn't take work, right? We see black singers and we think that, that's natural. There's a lot of them that do that. And this is literally to us, the black community. I'm talking to you. We think that's work. And I want to tell you that I disagree. As someone who grew up in the church choir for years, right? Since 7th grade all the way till I graduated high school. Since 6th grade, actually. It's work. And also, not all of us who are in choir, gospel choirs, choirs that did hymns, come out sounding like Fantasia or Jay Hudson. That's work. That's not just work that you do in the choir. That's a little bit of talent, but a lot of practice. And that practice should be awarded. But that's just my opinion. I think that there's some looking within that we need to do as a Black community when it comes to who we uplift, because some of us are letting our girlies down. I think about Jasmine Sullivan and how great her run was with her last album, but it still didn't get the recognition it deserved, as great as it was. And now, you know who? What else I'll say? I'll say the hard work that the Black, we think that we've moved on so much as a nation, but the work that the Black artists have to do to get some recognition. I think about Doechii. Baby girl has been working for a long time. Some of us who have been subscribed, some of us who have watched her on Tumblr know she's been working. She's been working. YouTube, Tumblr, she's been working. And she's now finally getting recognition. And you know what people are calling her? An industry plant. When there are literally people who are popping out of nowhere, getting deals. Y'all don't hear me though. Y'all just want to dance. I do think that we have so many conversations about, and on the internet, like there's always the Beehive versus Swifties, and I think that's the wrong conversation. I think the conversation really needs to be, we are obviously seeing everything being watered down: education, movies, history. And instead of us talking about the top level things, we need to talk about why mediocrity is being rewarded so frequently. And then furthermore, why often the face that's being rewarded doesn't look like ours, even within our own community. Leave comments below. Let me know what you think. And if you want to have more conversations regarding what's going on in society and music, please like, comment, and obviously, super important, subscribe.